Gauteng Education has a new boss. Matome Chiloane has been appointed MEC after Panyaza Lesufi's election to Premier of the province. Chiloane, of course, is familiar with the sector because he's worked as a chairperson of the Education Portfolio Committee in the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. He faces complex challenges in the sector, including overcrowding in schools and grade 1 and grade 8 placements for 2023. That's next year. Chiloane is joining us now in studio to discuss his new role, some of his thoughts, and what are the urgent matters that he believes need to be addressed as a priority. Mr. Matome, welcome to Chiloane. Mr. Chiloane, welcome to eNCA today. Thank you very much for your time. I'm used to say Panyaza when it comes to MEC for education, so I hope you don't mind me saying Matome to you.
No, it's okay.
It's okay. Fine. Yeah. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. I don't know if it's congratulations or what, because you're coming in, everybody's watching and saying, you've got big shoes to fill. How do you feel about that?
Firstly, the former MEC, who's the Premier now, he was a deployee of the ANC and was doing the ANC's work. So where I'm continuing with the ANC's work. He was implementing decisions of their party and obviously consulting society at large. So that's basically what's going to happen. We're going to continue as such.
Yeah, but you've been chairperson of the Education Portfolio Committee in the Provincial Legislature, so you're very familiar with what is happening, and you watched him in action. I mean, he was very well liked by lots of people, to the point that when the former Premier, David Makhura, made the reshuffle after the 2019 elections and made him finance MEC, there was an uproar from parents, school governing body to say, no, give us back Panyaza in education, don't take him away.
Yeah, well, what I can say is that the Premier now, we want those expertise for the whole of government as opposed to education sector alone. So they'll be very happy with him. We have big plans for the province to grow the economy, amongst others, create employment, and so he's busy, hard at work. I mean, if you had him, and when he was announcing the MECs, he outlined each MEC's program, what they need to achieve, so that we can get government working better again.
Yeah. You, like him, and like other members of the provincial legislature, have a very rich history in youth politics in the ANC, student politics. You all the way from Tembisa, from the township of Tembisa, I mean, that's where you sort of cut your teeth in politics and grew from there. What is it about your leadership style as the head of education now in Gauteng? Very important sector. What can we expect?
Basically, obviously, one will be pushing hard, especially around the infrastructure. As you know, we are dealing with placements now. We've had more than 764,000 applicants. So you could imagine our schools will be a bit crowded because what we're going to do, we're going to ensure that all learners get placed. So what we request from parents is to understand that maybe we might not put their learners at schools that they would have preferred. But what they should know, that their child will be in class, they'll have an educator in front of them, and they'll be in a space of learning. That's what is important for now. So infrastructure, building schools, is quite important. We need to start building schools. As you know, recently the ECD has been migrated from social development to education, and that's one aspect. It was recently moved. Fortunately, today we had a visitation from the Minister of Education from Finland. We're hoping that the collaboration, the deep collaboration between basic education and them will benefit from it, because now the role is, our mandate has grown from now we're dealing with ECD centers as well, so the number has more than doubled. So,
yeah, and early childhood development is very important.
Yes.
Case. But I want to unpack those a little bit later. But I still want to go back to my question, which you haven't answered, which is, what should we expect from your leadership style? And I'm asking this because we got used to a leadership style of the previous MEC for education, who's now the way he used to roll up his sleeves and he gets involved there.
Yes.
You know, even in the cases of tragedies, when there's violence in schools and pupils are killing each other, he'll be there on the ground, wherever. And so what kind of style should we expect from you?
No, the commitment that I would make is that I'll be available. I'll be accessible. When there are tragedies, definitely I'll be there. I don't want to say the current premier is my boss. So what you're asking me to say, I'll be better than my boss.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot in that way. Just want to get a sense of who's Matome and your view and approach in terms of doing your work.
Yes, definitely. I believe in accessibility. A leader should be accessible. A leader should be responsive. A leader should be accountable. Those are the critical components, because sometimes one of the biggest problems that we have is the ability that some people becomes ministers. They're not accessible. They're seen all over in blue lights, but not necessarily on the ground addressing the pertinent issues that are affecting us. So that is one that what I can assure the sector itself, that I will be accessible. I will be on the ground. I will continue to be dealing with even the small issues. There's no issue that will be small. There will be no issue that will be big. Every matter counts. And more important is to unite the sector, to ensure that everybody gets all their hands on deck, to ensure that we get the sector going. And at the ultimate end, our learners, the children, must benefit from this.
Yeah, it's all about them at the end of the day in the sector. But I mean, you must be pleased in a way. I don't know if you've seen the kind of reaction and how the various stakeholders in Gauteng education sector have welcomed your appointment.
Yes, I've seen, as you've said, I was in the legislature as the chair of the committee. I was engaged in the sector, the various stakeholders, the unions, the NGOs, the parental bodies, school governing bodies, educators. So I've always been amongst them, and they know very well during that period as the chair of the committee, I would always take up their issues when the department was not acting upon them.
Putting that oversight pressure on the department. Yeah. And now the issue of overcrowding, let's just get back to the nitty-gritty. You've mentioned it. You've said you've got about over 700 and something thousand applications for next year, and you don't have enough spaces. You don't have enough chairs to do that. Do you have data in terms of overcrowding? We have a story that we were running earlier from Section 27, the NGO, saying that they are trying to get data from the Gauteng Education Department or just to access to find out exactly how big and where the challenge is with overcrowding, but that information is not forthcoming.
No, we do have data, and if they want, we'll share with them. I mean, as I've said, accessibility. I mean, if you want information, our government will give it to you.
Okay, so how big is the overcrowding problem in Gauteng?
Yeah, I always say that we are a victim of our own success. We're dealing with a lot of migration into the province, not only the other provinces, but also from our neighboring countries. So that's why. And remember, we're talking about grade 1 and grade 8. So what we are planning to do now is obviously begin to give schools finance to build extra classrooms, but we'll also be providing mobiles to ensure that they are able to absorb these numbers. So that's the plan we have in place.
Yeah. So in the infrastructure world, you're going to have to work closely with the infrastructure department, with the MEC for infrastructure development. Where does it lie? You are education, and whose responsibility, who's accountable for the buildings?
Okay. Infrastructure does the building of the new schools in the main. But in terms of mobiles, refurbishment, it differs. There's major refurbishment, there's minor refurbishment. A classroom, we can't really say it's a major refurbishment, so that the department does. So what we have done, we empowered schools so that they can also empower the locals, give them an opportunity to build a classroom.
Are you going to ask for more money, budget-wise?
No, we're going to need money. We're going to need money, definitely. But what we have in the main, we'll try. We'll try to pull. But what we want to do to ensure that all learners are in class at the first day of school. All learners should be placed in a chair with a desk with an educator.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if you look at Gauteng, a smaller province as it is, it really punches way above its weight, because it's the biggest GDP in the country, economic hub. It's the fourth largest GDP in the continent of Africa, we are told. Are there parts of Gauteng, from an education perspective, are there regions that you're concerned about?
Yes, definitely they are. But I had my first meeting with the senior management team and with all the districts. Obviously, I do know which districts were not really performing well. We will focus on them. We know the schools that were not doing well. We will focus on those schools to ensure that we uplift them. You know, even if it means that we need to get proper, improve, change, maybe swap educators, something must start happening. We need to have a plan as to what is it that needs to be done to ensure that those schools, those learners, those schools begin to improve in terms of results.
Yeah, so you've mentioned prioritizing infrastructure, making sure that there's available chairs enough to accommodate the growing numbers of pupils coming in. You're also saying you're going to need more money, obviously, so that's going to be important, and you're going to be attending to some of those challenges in the various regions. What would give you sleepless nights currently as the new MEC for Education?
What has been a problem still is, as I've said, it's infrastructure.
That's your major problem.
Yeah, there has been a big problem, yeah. But beyond that, I think everything else seems to be relatively stable. Yes, I don't think that is the primary one.
Yeah. Your predecessor had a program, I'll call it that, I don't know what you guys will call it in government, where he was building specialization schools.
Yes.
Like around the airport, it will be around aviation, from what I recall. But also there was one that was built in Naledi some time ago. What's your view on that and the way forward, especially now as we live in the fourth industrial revolution, technology-wise as well?
No, they were continuing. As we have launched 21 out of 35. So we're still going to conclude the rest up to 35. Over Saturday, we're having a School of Specialization Festival. We will be bringing
this coming Saturday?
This coming Saturday, we'll bring all of them under one space. And since you've asked, this morning I went to one, Gauteng School of Specialization. It's one of our better performing schools of specialization. The work being done there is quite brilliant. It's actually one of the schools with a lot of pressure. For grade 8, they had applications of over 1,000 to 2,000, you know, because it's doing so well.
So many parents are going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
because you can't accommodate all of them.
Yes, definitely. So it's one of the schools that are doing, it's a model school of the School of Specialization. If you could go there, Braden, you'll be quite impressed at the type of work. And it's in our township, it's in the middle of Katlehong. In that school, we are offering, kids have been offered, as you know, there's also a multi-certification program that's also going to continue, and the school has modeled very well, where grade 11s have been given K53. By the time they conclude their matrics, they'll have a Code 10 license in their hands, beyond having a matric certificate.
Practical skills, yes. Okay, no, we certainly wish you well. You've termed yourself, as you begin this term, as prioritizing accessibility.
Yes.
So we as the media will want to test that, and we'll come to you now and again and see how accessible you are, even when you're facing tough challenges, because, you know, life happens, and we will talk to you. Now, final question, nothing to do with education. Your predecessor and I share a love of one football club. Okay? Yeah. So I want to know, where are your colors? Are you yellow? Are you black? Are you maroon? Where are you?
Black and white.
Black and white. we are arch rivals historically. Historically, the original Soweto derby. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
And all the best. And we will touch base with you. That's the newly appointed Gauteng Education MEC, Matome Chiloane.